Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'd like to open up the town hall meeting for Bedford Township for September 18th, 2018. Please stand for the pledge. Would you like to start us off with the pledge, Emily? Gretchen?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You look so much like your mom. And I thought I said your mom's name instead of yours. Sorry about that. Okay, so tonight we have Elaine Coons with us, and Nancy Belair, and Jody Russ from the Bedford Township Advisory Board Committee. It's a very, we have some of the members in the audience tonight, very dedicated committee that works very diligently with our library to come up with needs and future plans. So I just want to say I really appreciate all your guys' hard work that you put into this to let the township know what's going on in your needs and really thinking ahead. You know, you guys do a whole heck of a lot. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to
I think Elaine.
Elaine.
Okay, we have prepared a slide presentation to give you an idea of what we're looking for and why we're looking for it. The purpose of this town hall is to discuss the .25 mill levy, which was unanimously approved by the Township Board on June 5th. It will be on the November 6th, 2018 ballot. The Bedford Township Branch Library was first created in 1974 when the township agreed to merge the Temperance and Lambertville branches of the Monroe County Library System into one centrally located facility at 8575 Jackman Road. Since 1974, the building has increased in size 2 times to become the 30,000 square foot building it is today. The Bedford Township Branch Library, thank you, is a partnership between Bedford Township and the Monroe County Library System. Although the Monroe County Library System provides for all of the materials within the library, the computers and technology available, staffing, and a programming budget, Bedford Township is responsible for all utilities, furnishings, operations, and maintenance and upkeep of the building. Bedford Township, not the Monroe County Library System, owns the building. Township residents passed a 10-year .75 mill levy in 2002 for the library building, which created a separate fund. The money generated from that levy was used, quote, for the purpose of providing funds for the Bedford Branch Library to be used for building expansion and improvements, equipping and furnishing the library, program allowances, and for facility operations. Since the 2002 levy expired in 2012, taxpayers have not been assessed additional monies for the library's upkeep and operations. Due to the diligent management of the funds by the township's Library Advisory Board, money has remained in that account for operations and maintenance until June of 2018, at which point the township's general fund had to assume the cost of operating the library building. With careful budgeting, approximately $145,000 to $150,000 is sufficient for the yearly operation and maintenance of the Bedford Township Branch Library. However, due to the age of the building and the high volume of people in and out of the building daily, the several major issues need attention within the next few years. With these issues in mind, the Library Advisory Board has created a 5-year plan to implement these necessary improvements in 4 areas: safety, liability, economy, patron usability, and appearance. The plan includes the estimated $150,000 cost of basic operation of the library building, meaning the township's general fund would not need to support the building's operation and maintenance. This benefits all township residents. Safety and liability are repairs needed to ensure patron safety. Repair broken sidewalk, replace worn and stained carpeting throughout building, remove trees impacting HVAC and roofing, and replace or repair broken floor tiles. The next is economy, and this is energy efficient updates to save on costs of operation building. These are items that will make the library more efficient to use, to run, and will extend the life of projects already done. Pendant lighting still needs to be converted to LED, because this is also our security lighting, which remains on. The cost savings will pay for itself within 2 years. Converting the remaining lighting will save even more, and lighting controls will add efficiency and reduce wear and tear. A central control system for HVAC. This improvement would save money and improve patron experience. Presently, the antiquated controls operate the entire building the same. Consider the vast space, the community room, the children's area, the main library, quilt room, history room, and meeting rooms. Occupied or not, each of these areas is heated and cooled at the same temperature. A current central control system would permit lowering temperatures in unused areas, saving energy. Sealing and striping the asphalt is a necessary action to preserve what we have. The parking lot was totally replaced in 2015. It has not been sealed since then. Sealing should take place every 2 years in order to extend the life of the parking surface.
Patron usability, improving patron and staff interactions. We are always striving to make your library what you want it to be. We have often been described as a community center and want to continue to grow in that perspective. Redesigning spaces and adding useful components within the confines of our space is part of that process. When our building was last redesigned, the large service desks were normal in libraries. Now it's more likely that you could see no service desks in newly remodeled libraries because library staff is out on the floor helping people. We would like to reduce the size of our reference service desk and make it more accessible to patrons, which will also provide more space for the public computers. This will improve the staff-patron contact point and create space to add more quiet study rooms. This is essentially 2 small study spaces dropped into already existing space, which would create additional quiet study or meeting collaborating space. Our meeting rooms fill quickly each day, and this is one of the areas for which we see great demand. Lockers would create a place for patrons to secure their belongings when they are having us proctor a test or when using the local history room. This image is of the lockers at our Ellis Library and Reference Center. Patrons there must store all their belongings before using the valuable historical materials. Proctoring tests is one of the services that our reference staff provides, which we're seeing a greater demand for due to the increasing number of people of all ages that are enrolled in online education.
Appearance to maintain the integrity of a valuable community resource. Paint the building interior. The last painting rotation cycle was completed in 2013. Replace overgrown and dying landscaping around the building with native plants, which will reduce or eliminate our need for watering. The building's external environment is an asset and the township's responsibility. The township is responsible for the furniture in the library building. All of the furnishings are robust, yet the fabric itself wears out from heavy use. The Library Advisory Board has found through the years that it is more economical to reupholster than to replace. Because the township provides this generous space, the library is able to provide all of the following to our community. To recap, here is a visual of the estimated expenses. Our goals are safety, liability, economy, patron usability, and appearance. As you can see by this chart, should the millage on November 6th pass, homeowners in Bedford Township will pay somewhere between $9 and $40 for the township's library building. The library building is an important investment in the taxpayers' infrastructure. It is an asset to Bedford Township's community and citizens, as well as a valuable building. Just as we maintain our own property to keep up the value, we must maintain our township facilities.
That's the end of our presentation, so if we want to do questions and answers now.
Probably for you, Jody, how many people visit the Bedford Branch Library per year, would you say?
In my original presentation to the Township Board, I had 97,000 as our estimate, but as of today, I received some new statistics that show in the year 2017, 153,920 people.
So it gets used quite a bit.
That's a lot.
In terms of the library, how many items do you circulate per year?
175,000 items in
That go out.
2017. That was our last year.
Great.
And those don't include all the downloadables and things. Those aren't broken down by branch-specific circulation.
So that can be a
Right.
lot, that's a
So
lot more.
That's a safe, conservative.
That is physical materials, 175,000 physical materials. In addition to that, there were 80,000 downloadable items, but that's around the entire county. We can't break that down by branch.
Right,
so.
okay. In terms also too, how has the library changed in today's world of technology? Because some people will say, well, nobody reads books anymore, nobody goes to the library anymore. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, in the first place, obviously, we had, 153,000 people who did use the library last year, so a lot of people still use the library, and circulating that many items also shows how much it's well-used. But in addition, we've added that digital collection and grown that digital collection, so there's a whole lot of people that can use our resources remotely. We have online databases that are available for people to use from home. And then, one of the key things that we find at all of our branches is we're trying a larger variety of programming that appeals to people of all ages and all interests.
Okay. In terms of taking a look, could you explain in terms what Melcat is?
Sure. Do you want to do that, or you want me to do that?
I can do it. Melcat is a partnership between hundreds of libraries, excuse me, in the state, mostly public, but also some academics, some hospital libraries, some college libraries. We share our materials in a nutshell. We have a database, and if you're looking for a particular item in our collection, you don't see it, there'll be a link to click, and it'll let you search the other databases. And we have, I want to say, over 60,000 items come back and forth in and out of our libraries from other libraries, and we loan some of ours to them
That's quite
as
a bit,
well.
because you're really not always seeing the end user, but in this case, there is an end user.
Absolutely.
They just might be sitting at their kitchen table accessing your library. Especially with all the
Absolutely.
online programs nowadays. It's incredible in terms of all the libraries you can tap into.
Right, and some of the things, like Jody mentioned, Mango Languages, I believe was on the slide, that's an online resource that you can download to your phone to learn a foreign language. The coolest thing about this particular product is it can go with you. You don't need a live, we just got back from a trip from Cuba. We didn't need to be connected to anything at that point. It lived on your phone, so you don't need to be near wireless. You don't have to pay a lot of data fees. It lives there with you. And whatever your interest is, whether it's auto repair, or, again, magazines, whatever, it's going to be online if we don't have it in our physical space.
Is there a charge for that?
No,
So that's all free
all free,
that you guys provide?
correct.
There's over 70 languages in that Mango Languages, too, for people to use.
Wow, that's pretty
And in
incredible.
case you're interested, tomorrow is Talk Like a Pirate Day, and the pirate language is in there. So
Oh, there we
it's
go.
just one of the few.
Yeah,
things
you've
you
got a
can-
good one of those.
I thought something was interesting that I read that I don't think a lot of people quite understand, especially as we're getting older and that type of thing. Can you explain the library for the blind and physical physically handicapped?
Sure. The Library for Blind and Physically Handicapped is a service that's available for free for anybody who has any kind of a handicap that limits their ability to read print. So it is more than just people who have vision problems. It can be people who have dyslexia, people who have Parkinson's, who can't physically hold a book. It covers a wide variety of disorders that makes it so that you can get free library materials delivered directly to your home through the Postal Service, and then you return them that way, and there's no charge to you for that. We had some statistics on that. According to the research by the National Eye Institute, 2.9 million Americans have low vision, and that number is expected to increase by 72% by 2030. So all those people can take advantage of that free service as well.
Oh, that'd be good. A lot of people are going to ask, well, if this millage gets passed, they're all going to get pay increases. Can you tell the folks out there who pays your salaries?
The Monroe County Library System pays their salaries, the salaries of the Bedford branch, and all of the rest of the library staff on the Monroe County Library System. We have 16 branches. The bulk of our funding comes from a 1 mil levy assessed to the entire county. That's between 77 and 83% of our budget, depending on the year and how everything shakes out. We get about 17% of our revenue from penal fines. That's overweight trucks, other civil infractions that are assessed, and a portion of those come to us. Rest is little drips and drabs, a little bit of state aid, a little bit of contract services, that type of thing.
So it's totally separate. Bedford Township does not pay any of your salaries or benefits.
Right.
So the money that's generated is going to be used for capital improvements and.
And the money, this is a question that you probably, it wasn't on the list, but it's something that people wonder, does Bedford Township get their money's worth out of that mill? And the answer is yes. You send up to Monroe roughly $1 million. Over $700,000 is just in staff and benefits alone for the Bedford branch. Doesn't count the technology, the daily delivery that we have, outreach services to senior centers, and all of the infrastructure that you see, or our superstructure salaries. None of that's included in that. That's directly assigned to that building.
Okay. Jody, on a typical day, tell us, do you see any students from Bedford schools coming into your library?
So today, as a matter of fact, I counted 73 of them that came into our library, and that wasn't counting the students that were in the program that was designed for after-school students. So yes, we see enormous quantity of students that come use the library after school.
Even though they all got those Chromebooks, they still come to the library?
They still come to the library, yeah. And the interesting part, I actually like having the kids there, because the interesting part to me is, we as adults tend to complain about kids being glued to their technology and being glued to their devices and not looking at people and communicating, but that's exactly what they're doing at the library. They're all communicating. Maybe it's not the most appropriate place for them to be communicating, but they definitely are having conversations and talking with people, so I think that's a good thing.
So they're talking face-to-face, right?
Absolutely, face-to-face, not through the screen.
Which is good.
And don't you have programs with classes coming regularly to the library?
We do. We actually do every school year. We start with the 6th grade classes. All of the English language arts teachers at Bedford Junior High in all the grades actually bring their classes over for class visits once a month. But the 6th graders, we hit really hard. We make sure they all have library cards. They all learn all about all of the resources that we have available to them. And then they come once a month for visits to borrow books. So.
I think it's important to mention that the public library is the library for everyone. We've joked for years, cradle to grave, we are your resource. Never has that been more true. You'll find that many of our schools, certainly throughout the county and even in our township, don't have libraries anymore, or media centers, as we did when we were going to school. So that one-on-one instruction on how to use the library, what is a trusted resource, how to do a footnote, all of that stuff happens at the library.
I have something I'd like to bring up. A lot of people are probably wondering, well, what's Bedford Township going to do with roughly $150,000 to $175,000 extra dollars if the millage does pass? Well, I can tell you it's probably going to be going to roads, because we've spent down our general fund over the last 5 years roughly to an amount, a 6-month amount. So the more we have that we can save from the library, it'll go towards roads. So,
well, that'll be good. I think this is interesting too, because Jody, you talked a little bit about we're a community center, which I see that because you have like one of the largest rooms to use, and Bedford really doesn't have a community center. Can you expound on that, about the different events that are held there? I mean, I just went to one on Saturday, but I think people don't realize all the events that you do there.
Right, right. So we partner with all kinds of different organizations, and that's one of the things that we like to point out. Monroe County Veterans Affairs is there every month. The Medicare Medicaid Assistance Program comes there. RSVP volunteers get credit for working at the library. We partner with Adopt a Road in the 6th grade class for cleaning up the roads. In our community room, we hold Tai Chi classes, yoga classes. The Bedford Historical Society has their programs there. So there's lots of, in addition to that, there's all kinds of other things we do. We have 7 different book clubs that happen there. We have a couple different knitting groups that meet. So there's all kinds of activities, and we try to cover STEAM programs for kids is one of the newer ones that we have too. So science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics is what STEAM stands for. So we're trying to push that as well.
Oh, good. I know I'll be going to your Gordie Howe's son is coming. What I think.
Yeah,
that's on-
Dr. Murray Howe is coming, and he has his book. It's called 9 Things I Learned from My Father. Does that sound right? I don't have that in front of me right this minute, but yeah, he's Gordie Howe's son, and he's going to be talking about his experience of living with a famous hockey player.
Tuesday?
I think that's
Yeah.
next Tuesday.
Shouldn't you also mention the use of the community room by the community and the various things that are held there, and why we need more meeting space because of meetings at the
Yes,
library?
lots of homeowners associations actually hold their meetings in our community room, because once they've gotten large enough that they, somebody's house in their neighborhood isn't large enough to hold their meetings, they come to our place, and at last count, I think we had 8 of those that were meeting there. And then all kinds of other groups. The Bedford Flower and Garden Club meets there. Bedford Herb Group meets there. So there's lots of other organizations that we partner with there as well.
I think there's another thing that a lot of people do not know this about the library, but can you explain how, if I want to start a business or I may own a business, your business program, because I think that is one of the best research tools you have, but a lot of businesses don't know you have it.
So we have access to a lot of online databases, including some small business startup operations, and so those things are available for people to use. In addition to that, there actually is a small business development program at the Ellis Library and Reference Center that you would have access to through the library. So there's lots and lots of resources available for somebody getting started in business, somebody who wants to grow their business, and those things are all free as well. You just need a library card. And to get a library card for the library system, you need to live in Bedford, in Monroe County, go to school in Monroe County, own a business in Monroe County, or work in Monroe County, or own property in Monroe County. So even if you live outside of the county but you have a business here, you qualify for a library card. So
Yeah, and I've looked at that business program in terms of your databases. I mean, if you're trying to do any kind of marketing or pull statistics out or whatever, this is information you're accessing at no charge, that if you had a
Right.
company do this for you, they'd be charging you a lot of dollars for it.
right, has a lot of demographics information. Reference USA is available for free, and lots of different types of things that you can really do a deep dive yourself into that kind of data that you might want to extract.
Also explain a little bit, we don't have a Bedford History Museum. So what has the library done to preserve Bedford's history?
So we have a local history room and collection. Actually, it's 2 separate rooms. So we have a very large collection of family histories that we've put together. We have a photographic history that's been, some of those are hanging on the wall, and some of those are in files in the back. We have microfilm from all of the area newspapers from as far back as the newspapers exist. We're filling in holes right now in the Toledo Blade collection that we have. So we have it from ages ago, and then we also have current, and we're filling in some holes right in the middle now.
Obituary index, those kinds of things you'll
Yeah,
find there
birth,
at the
marriage,
library.
death records, those kind.
And
So if you're into
anybody-
genealogy, this would be a good
Exactly,
place
that's
to
where
go.
I was going to go.
Okay.
If you watch any of those shows on TV, Who Do You Think You Are, or those kinds of things, genealogy is like the #1 hobby, and we have a lot of resources that no one else has in the area, whether it's data from census information or the microfilm that Jody's speaking of. I think you could keep yourself busy for quite some time over there.
We also have a genealogy club that meets once a month on Friday after hours, and that gives them free access to all the computers that are available and the local history resources. And if you're new to this, there's people that have been coming to it for ages that are always happy to help out the person who's just getting started.
And simple things that have come about in the last few years have made a huge difference. You can scan and email it to yourself instead of having to photocopy it or take copious notes. Boom, it's right there, and you've got the primary resource. So you don't have to think, where did I find that? Which library was it? Did I put the footnote in there? Because my cousin's not going to believe this one. It's right there, boom. It's awesome.
Oh, good. Well, Jody, the library received, and due to your efforts over the weekend, you received an Excellence Award in being environmentally efficient and so on. Explain a little bit about the LED initiative. How much money are we saving a month?
So we switched over all of our lights except those pendant lights that go right down the center, including our parking lot lights, which were huge energy consumers. All of those over to LED over the last 2 years, I think it's been. And immediately we saw a savings of 43% in our energy costs. I think we're pushing 50% now. It's up about 47% of the kilowatt usage that we used to use compared to what we're using now, so.
Well, great. Well, I know you guys also do recycling because you bring stuff over here at the Township Hall as well. So I know you're taking advantage of that.
Part of the thinking behind that, when we began talking about was, we didn't want to come to the taxpayers, you guys didn't want to come to the taxpayers without doing your due diligence with the building.
Right.
They've done everything they can up until, with the, I'm sorry. They've done everything they can other than the controls is really
Right.
the next big step to see a big savings. And I think the payback on that was 5 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was within 5 years.
Yeah, I think,
These
I
are-
actually think controls was like about 3 years.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was it was quicker. And the thing is, when we talk about controls, because I think it's important that people know, is that all your newer buildings and so on are all run on a computer system that runs the controls. And when we walk in the library, we can't zone it properly. When we should be able to shut down rooms that are not being used, we should be gradually warming up that building in the morning instead of doing a real hot fire where somebody walks in and says, well, it's 62, let's turn it up to 79. That's not how you want to run a building. But in all defense, technology has changed since the library has been built. And the thing about the controls, and we sat in there with meetings with Jody and Paul and so on, is it's not hard to teach anybody on how to work those controls on the computer. I mean, it was pretty simple in terms of the programming and so on. So nowadays, you're not building a good building if you don't put in controls. And the payback is very quick in terms of what we're doing. Same way with the lighting controls too. We should be able to dim areas. We should be able to have lights come on at a certain time and so on so that we can save energy. Because we all know one thing, electricity doesn't go down in price. We haven't seen that yet. And this question's for anybody. Where do you see the future of a library going? What's your vision in the next, say, 10 years? What do you see a library doing?
Well, I would say the community events is what we've seen the huge growth in. In the amount of time since I've been at the Bedford branch, we've had a slow decline in circulation numbers pretty much every year. Not a huge decline, but a slow decline. But every single year we've had more people using the building. And I keep wondering how we're fitting more people in the building every year, but we're fitting more people in the building every year. So that's what I see. People are interested in those kinds of programs, interested in learning new things. Our mission is to create education, entertainment, and recreation for Monroe County residents. So that's what we strive to do, and that we're working on garden plots right now that you can borrow with your library card. That's available at the Bedford Library. So we have a seed library. You can borrow seeds from our seed library. You can check out a garden plot. You can grow your own garden at your library. And we're working on more initiatives like that to help bring in people that have different types of interests or want to learn about something new.
I think you should mention, too, that it's an economic benefit, that the source word for library comes from the word free, and the library is free for all people, regardless.
There are actually, you almost set the course for my next thought. There are actual return on investment tools online, and you can personalize them to your region, your personal habits. Like if you check out a book or purchase a book once a month, then over the course of a year, obviously you've saved $200, let's say. But depending on what your use of the library is, you can figure out how much you have saved. The City of Toronto did a study about 3 years ago, and their average is around $6. Now, that's Canadian, so let's say $4.50, okay? But there are lots of tools out there to show what it can really save you as an individual, and they're really quite wonderful.
Great.
I just want to point out too, you know, every year the library, they get volunteers to do their mulch for the last few years, I think, which is a big savings for them. So
Right, not paying
they're
on
always
paper.
looking at ways to save, you know, so.
Thank you, Paul.
Can I buy a book at the library?
Absolutely. We have a room just for our Friends of the Library. So the Friends of the Library takes in donations all the time, and then they put those books out for sale. They have a special room right inside the library when you come in, and those books are anywhere from $1 to $2, as opposed to, you know, $5 to $25 or $40. So.
Yeah, or going to Barnes and Noble.
Right, and going to Barnes and Noble and
Right,
buying them.
you
Yeah,
can-
absolutely.
And you guys have good books in there, too.
There are good books
Yeah,
in there.
There's awesome
Yeah.
books, and those Friends programs can't be underestimated. They provide a lot of the little extras that might be over and above the reach of the township or the library system, quite honestly. They might do a Mother's Day tea or puppet shows, things like that, mostly family programs that they love to sponsor, and they're hostesses with the mostesses and hostesses with the mosts. They do a great job for us.
Actually, tomorrow night, we actually have a ragtime concert with Peter Bergen, and so the Friends of the Library have sponsored that event. So we try to do lots of music programs, and that's just one of them that's happening tomorrow.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Gretchen?
Are you going to use the library, Gretchen? Okay. I don't have any other questions unless you guys up there would like to.
I just want
Expound
to
on
say something
something.
real quick. You know, when you look at the millage, a lot of it is, you know, maintenance for the future. Having a maintenance plan in place that, you know, in 5 years from now, we're not saying, oh my gosh, we need $500,000 right now for these needs because we didn't plan out for them. You know, lighting, controls, I mean, all these things that they're doing are ultimately going to save the taxpayers money and benefit us all. So, Ms. Tinneberry has a question.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're
No.
okay. But I
have
just
a
want to say,
question.
it's forward thinking, and that's what I really like about it, so good job.
I don't have a question. I'm very familiar with what goes on at the library. I just want to say, as a public citizen, I am so proud of our library, the staff there, and I'm proud of the fact that they take every effort to keep the building in a pristine fashion so that the taxpayers will be able to come to a place that is well cared for, well taken care of. You know, it's not their responsibility. It's the township's responsibility. It's our building. And I just wanted to say, if you never, ever use the library, keep in mind that this is a facility that belongs to the taxpayers. It's the taxpayers' responsibility to put the money in to keep it up. And if we don't, who wouldn't take a building as valuable as that building and let it become run down? And then it's going to cost us a lot more money to bring it back. So to me, their idea to continually take care of the upkeep or be mindful of it, it's not their expense, it's our expense, but to be mindful of it so that it doesn't deteriorate. I'm just so thankful that we have people there working to that end and not caring. And the other thing I had to say, I can't remember because Al talked so long that he took up my, I'm just thankful and proud, and I think that the taxpayers need to understand, I'm not a person that supports millage just to get more money. This millage is important and is necessary to withstand or to keep up the building that's very valuable and important to the community. So, thank you.
I just want to say, share this video too on Facebook as much as possible. That way everybody can get the information, so.
And I think we should just remind people it's a .25 mil levy. It lasts for 5 years. It is specifically for the library building, maintenance and upkeep, improvements that need to be done. All of those improvements, as Paul mentioned, if we don't do these now, it's going to cost us more money in the long run. The general fund for the township is what's paying for the library's operation and maintenance right now, and the general fund doesn't have enough money to pay for things like new carpeting in the library building. So that will just continue to deteriorate, you know, if this millage doesn't pass. So that's just something to keep in mind. And average taxpayer, somewhere between $9 and $40 for a year, for the entire year, is the cost of that.
I just remembered the thing I was thinking of. You know, I hear from people in the grocery store, you know, wherever you run into them, about the past. And I just wanted to say the past is in the past. Whatever happened to put the building there, to get it remodeled, to bring it to what it is today, is in the past. And to concentrate on the past and let the building deteriorate for the future just is not logical to me. So I just wanted to say we can't
Very good
concentrate on the
point.
past.
Very good point. We hear
and-
about that a lot.
It just seems that the record of the Library Advisory Board and the library staff should negate that criticism, because since 2002, no funds have been levied, and we've survived for that long. And that's a testament to our diligence, to the and to our responsibility to taxpayers.
I also wanted to pipe in here and thank Jody and her staff as well. They are amazing employees, and they work really hard for the community. And as you said, none of these are frills, these are necessities. But this is perhaps something that I haven't mentioned, and I should. The Bedford branch has been the busiest branch in our system for the more than 30 years that I've been tracking it. This building and these services are really important to this community. I'd love to talk to anybody who wants to talk about the history and how that building came to be. I know that there was a group of some size who felt like they were not aware of the extent of the renovation. And if anybody wants to look at the minutes, anybody wants to talk to me, to talk to anybody that was on that committee, this township had engineers, they had township board members, including the supervisor at the time, tracking that project very carefully. The footings needed to be reinforced to allow for a sloped roof. Those of you who remember that 1974 photo, the roof leaked for the entire time it was there, from 74 to 86, and then some. So the point was to get a sloped roof on top of there, and again, the township went with metal, so we don't have to deal with it again. So I'd love to be able to answer some of those questions that people might have. It's been a sad thing for people to feel badly about something that has turned out so beautifully and was done for all the right reasons. So thanks, that's just one of my pet peeves.
Does anybody have any further questions or comment? If none, we stand adjourned, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. And I wasn't going to bring that